Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. I was saying so beautiful words. I will repeat now.
Just
Hello,
start
my dear.
again.
Huh?
Just
Huh?
start again.
Yes. Hello, hello, hello. We're starting a new episode today, a very special one with a very special guest, our dear friend Diogo from Australia. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome everyone in this humble room and open our windows for the world. So I pass over to Charles and to Fran.
Hello, Elsa. Good morning, Fran. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who are following us live. So I'm very happy again to be here today with you to share some thoughts about Spiritist teachings and body of knowledge, and in particular today about children, because it's very urgent. Bonjour, bonsoir à tous. Très heureux d'être avec vous ce soir.
Silvia Fran.
Good evening, everyone, for those who are in the other side of the world, and good morning to our friends in Australia who were able to join. Bom dia, boa tarde to those who are in Brazil. Yeah, so it's such a pleasure, such an honor to be able to be here with you all tonight over there in the morning here, and to be able to speak to the hearts of so many parents, so many people involved in children's education, which is such an urgent matter. So I just wanted to thank you again, everyone, for being here. And thank you, Elsa, and all the friends from BUS from organizing this and for helping us be able to, I guess, touch on this subject.
Fran, it's really a pleasure to have you here. Before I recite your CV, I will show a small video, food for thought for people, and I will introduce you with your CV, okay?
Lovely.
BUS, the British Union of Spiritist Societies, proudly presents Learning How to Pray, a book of prayers for children, written by Elsa Rossi and read by Rebecca Ferrari Gersogamo and Leandro Gersogamo. Introduction. My first book, Learning How to Pray. To Mom and Dad. It is very important that right from infancy children come into contact with God and know all about Jesus. The government establishes a systematic school plan with free obligatory study. For their part, parents should offer the children a moral education, thus they will be prepared for life. Each little book contains a prayer for all the different situations that occur in a daily life, stimulating children to learn to pray and to know how easy it is to talk to Jesus and to know that He is close to our hearts. With time, the children will talk to Jesus with words from their own hearts.
Yes, this book helps a lot. And beautiful pictures, colors, so easy to parents talk about spirituality for children, the theme for today. So Fran Diogo, our dear friend, is based in Sydney, Australia, for 14 years now. Profession? Fran is an undergraduate psychology student. Since a career shift from business centers, management, to working to support people living with disabilities through services from Assistance Dogs Australia. Fran and two friends co-founded Light in the Shire Spiritist Group in 2018, where she currently volunteers, focusing on increasing awareness of Spiritism activities in English, including a Spiritism for Babies, Parents 0 to 3 years old group, establishing the center in a new region of Sydney. Fran considers herself blessed to be born into a Spiritist family. Had a grandfather had founded her grandfather had founded a Spiritist center in Minas Gerais back when her mother was only a child. She grew up in early childhood Spiritist teachings through teen groups and later when moved to Australia in 2008. Fran is now the mother of Ellie, 2 years old, who is a participant in our center's activity. So, dear Fran, you have 15, 20 minutes to talk about your theme. You can show slides and we can really enjoy your presence here. Thank you so much for accept our invitation.
No, thank you so much, Elsa, and Charles, and all the friends that are organizing this program. Thank you so much. I'm gonna then go into sharing my slides here. Here we are. So, teaching spirituality to our children
We can
is.
see your slides, sweetheart.
Can you see it now?
Oh, no?
Oh no.
No.
I'll try again. I'll try again.
Hello, Stevan.
Hello, my dear friends.
Good morning,
Steven.
Steven.
Nice to meet you, Fran. Sorry for my
Nice.
late.
That's okay. Nice to meet you.
CEO was calling me, so. So what are you
Okay.
trying to do, my friends?
Her
was-
slides.
There's
Can
a
you
slide.
share her slides, Steven, please?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
here.
here.
Can you see them now?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Perfect. Lovely. Thank you for your patience. So, teaching spirituality to our children is such an important matter. So, I'm so yeah, thrilled to be able to speak to everyone who's listening in now about this. So, we learn in Spiritism that we have the blessing of reincarnation, and it is truly a blessing because in each life that we live, we have a new opportunity to learn, to start again. So the divine laws that are supporting us in our existence as eternal spirits allows us to have all the resources that we need to restart a new life every time we reincarnate. So we have a joke here in our spiritist group. When we talk about preparing for reincarnation being such a challenge, that as spiritists, when we understand that life is eternal, that we have several lives, it should be actually harder to think about reincarnating than it is to go back to the spiritual realm. So we talk about how a lot of people say, oh, we're so afraid of death. It actually creates more anxiety to a spirit to prepare to live again, because it's such a big undertaking. So we shouldn't take for granted how much is prepared and planned and strategized by our spiritual friends to make a life available for us again. So the whole context of our grandparents, our parents, our children, it's all planned to give us the best resources that we need as a spirit to evolve, to learn what we need to learn specifically. So all this network, this contest is prepared so carefully, and we need to learn to appreciate that, and I guess value this network, this context. So when we think about the children that has been entrusted to us under our care, and this could be our children, it could be our brothers or sisters children that live in the same family, it could be our friends children that are in direct contact with us on a day-to-day. They're all entrusted to us if we have a relationship with them, if we are close to them. And learning about the essence of life, having access to all these teachings that we have through Spiritism, that we are eternal spirits, that there is a God, there is a divine light guiding us through our paths, that we have guardian angels, for example, that are walking with us, that are there to care for us when we need, that we have Jesus available in our lives. So understanding who Jesus is, what moral teachings has he brought to us, how can we live by those teachings? How can we feel all those emotions that that divine essence that created us have planted in our heart? Is so important to us to be able to actually live, but also to make sure that since a very early age we can access this information, because it is life changing, and it will definitely help us when we have the normal life challenges that we might have. So to begin with, when we think about our children being spirits, there is so many spiritist um, information available. In one book that I remember I read when I was pregnant with our baby Ellie, was this book from Hermínio de Miranda, Nossos Filhos São Espíritos, Our Children Are Spirits. And he exemplified in this book, I guess, the idea that, you know, when we welcome a new child, a new life into this world, even though they're seen as cute little babies, you know, they're just these fragile little bodies, and the divine is so wise in the way that even this process takes place, because, you know, we look at them and we see them as a very fragile, needing nurturing kind of being. But we have to remember that in essence they are not um, just created as spirits then. You know, they were spirits. They probably lived as many lives as we have. They might be more evolved spiritually than we are. They might have more knowledge than we have. But in that particular moment, when they prepare to live again, when they are coming into a new life, they are very open to be molded again. And of course, as they learn and grow, their little bodies, of course, will grow, will develop. Their brains, um, that are, of course, the driving force of the spirit, the mind, the mental creations that they are going to have, are going to reflect the spirits that they were, the knowledge that they have had, the experiences that they have lived in the past. But in this book, for example, Hermínio de Miranda talks about some of his children and his experience as a parent, as a dad, and how he could see this, you know, prevalence of the different personality traits, different things being brought to life, and how in Spiritism, for example, we could observe some of those aspects and, I guess, influence positively in some of those aspects. So when we learn in Spiritism what happens with the spirit in preparation for a new life, it is magnificent, I guess, to understand how this takes place. So when we are preparing for a new life, we go as a spirit in a state of a little bit of a dormant state of our minds and our capacities, but our essence is present. So we learn in Spiritism that as the spirit is completing the first 7 years of its reincarnation, um, it's slowly getting back to some of those, I guess, personality traits, intrinsic knowledge. Some of those things will come back. So it's almost like we are in a state of, I'll say numbness in a way, but a lot of our because our brain structures are so I'll say underdeveloped still. So our cerebral cortex, for example, is very sensitive to imprinting. The parents especially have such an important mission to help mold that little new brain through the experiences that it's going to have since as early as, you know, the first months of life, really. And the spirit in preparation for all that goes through a big transition. So like we were saying before, it's a big undertaking, preparing for this new life, preparing for this new mission. But you know, science has been backing this up with this knowledge that, you know, the child brain, the child's brain is so plastic. So we have such a positive influence, if we might interfere, I guess, with the way that we're helping them see the world, the way that we're helping them feel what's around them, feel our connection to them, and imprinting that connection with the spiritual world, with this spiritual knowledge is key to helping them developing that structure and remembering those things that they probably knew from different lives, or maybe they're learning in this life. But basically, yes, the homes, our homes as parents will be the first experiences as relationships, in their lives that they're going to have. So first we have to consider that how important it is to provide them in our family, in our homes, a sanctuary for them to feel welcomed, for them to feel loved, for them to understand that relationships are positive. And in psychology we see that already. There's a lot of theories to explain part of our personality development. So there's attachment theory that talks about how, depending on the positive interaction we might have with our mom and then with our dad, we see relationships based on those experiences. And we know in spiritism that we have got past information from relationships in different lives that can influence as well how we are seeing our lives and our relationships. But from this new opportunity, when we are starting a new reincarnation, we can learn so much from our parents, from their example, from the way that they relate to us and the way that they interact with others, from the way that they see life, the way that they live life. So it's so important to remember that as a caregiver, as a parent, that we can teach them about love. We can teach them that relationships are a positive thing and they are essential in our lives, and that relationship that they have with the divine, with God, with creation, is then an example for us to see how we can relate to others in that same way. So in the spirits book, Kardec has asked the spirits about the influence of the parents. So the question was 208, sorry. Do the spirits of the parents have any influence over the spirit of their child after birth? And the spirits answer, they have a very large influence on it. Spirits are made to contribute to one another's progress. The spirits of the parents are entrusted with the mission of developing those of their children by the training they give them. It is a task that is appointed to them and which they cannot fail to fulfill without feeling a sense of guilt. So the spirits have confirmed how much of an influence we have in helping this new opportunity of life to this spirit that has just, I guess, came back to being with us. So and funnily enough, we were talking about guilt just before we started this. So in a way, I think it's important to remind parents, as soon as I became a mother, juggling our priorities in life, you feel guilt sometimes by having the responsibility, the understanding of this responsibility as well when we know spiritism. But I think guilt is a feeling, is an emotion that has a particular purpose. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. So guilt helps us understand what areas in our life are important and we have to pay attention to. But it shouldn't be something that becomes a burden. I think if we see the positive side of this emotion, it is reminding us of the responsibility. And as long as we're doing our best, we can tell ourselves, today I have done my best with the knowledge I have, with the resources I have, and so forth. So let's work on our guilt as well in a positive way. So some of the ways that we can exemplify the teachings of Spiritism have actually been implemented in other educational theoretical methods, I guess. So actually Pestalozzi back in the day had a method to see children, to respect them already as individuals, to provide them with exploratory opportunities, emotional education, respecting who they were, which is probably it was a big undertaking at that time, and we can still see a lot of those old methods of teaching. Children have to respect you because they're little, using force, using punishment, those things that we know now are definitely not something that would help someone learn through trust and respect. So in psychology, we study that as well, like childhood traumas and how they can influence who we are long term. So when we incorporate this idea that our children are spirits, they're eternal spirits, it will have us treat them differently to, I guess, someone who will not see a child as a spirit, a living being that has got even more experience than we have, even more knowledge than we have, and really see that opportunity to interact, as in we can learn from them as well. So Maria Montessori has developed a beautiful method that's very used these days, and I think it's getting more popular. As in schools are adopting these methods, and there are some certain schools, certain early education centers as well that use this method, but you can implement them with your kids, with your children at home, and it would essentially incorporate a lot of what we learn in spiritism. So practice and principles, I'm just going to share some basic ideas here. So having interaction with children of different age is important because, like I was saying, we know that children observe how people act, and they learn by observing how the elder around them act. So in the mixed age group, having been able to do play groups and things like that, children will be able to see and learn from each other as well. So they'll already start learning that sense of community, peer support. In Montessori philosophy, we adapt a respect to things around them. So treating the toys with respect, treating each other with respect, treating nature with respect. So a lot of this we can incorporate into teaching the spiritist philosophy teachings as well. So it's just how we live life. So incorporating what we learn through life. So we discuss responsibility. We give them opportunities to do experimental learning, which is like testing things and seeing how things go. We establish limits to their freedoms, but we give them opportunities to choose, so we respect their freedom, their independence. We encourage that. We encourage them to take initiative and participate in things. So it's more like teaching them like equals. We look at their specific likings, and we help them achieve, I guess, learning in those areas. So, if a child likes to do arts and they want to do that first, and then they want to do something else, they are encouraged to experiment and to do things that they are inclined to do. So that it's kind of respecting their individuality, their likings. We teach them about natural consequences. So there's a lot of thought that has been put into this, and it's to help them, I think, nurture that individuality, but learn to respect and learn to handle their emotions and how to act with people from that principle, which I think is completely in sync with what we learn in Spiritism when we learn about, learning to love self and to respect each other, and to, I guess, care for each other, care for the environment, care for everything around us. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to learn from that. So I know it's a huge undertaking. The parents are out there thinking, oh my God, is it a mission to be a parent? And it can be. So in the spirits have also answered to Kardec about the mission of parenthood. So question 582, can parenthood be considered a mission? This is from the Spirits book. So the spirits answered, there's no question that it is a mission. It is a serious duty, the responsibilities of which will exercise a much more significant impact on people's future than a person might think. God has placed children under the guidance of its parents so that they can direct the child to goodness and integrity. God has even facilitated their task by giving the child a weak and gentle physical makeup, completely open to new impressions. If the child fails and it is the fault of the parents, they will suffer the atonement of their failure, and the suffering of the child in the future will be assigned to them because they have not done their part in helping the child advance to the road of happiness. So it is a mission. So for, I think in society as a whole, there's a lot of this, I think, for mothers, especially nowadays, this idea that if you're just a mother, if you're staying at home for the first 5 years of that child, for example, you're not contributing to society, or, oh, what happened to your career? If we understand who we are as a whole, our purpose here in life, when we're reincarnated, we're learning. Parenthood is such a mission, and I think it's it's a career for a mother. Of course, we moms, we can actually have, of course, different things, different interests, but it's always important to understand what an important job this is. Taking a child through its learning, exemplifying, getting them to be good humans. The planet that we're living in at the moment needs change that starts with each individual's mind. And it is our children that we are educating that will be those spirits that will continue with this transformation that we're expecting to happen. So we are going from a planet of trial and expiations to a planet of regeneration. And it's the regeneration of our minds, of our emotions, of how we live with each other that will make a difference. Hence why it's so important. It's such a dedicated mission to be a parent. And even if we are a working parent, it doesn't matter. The quality time that we spend with our kids, the environment that we create for them at home, the love that we give them, and these teachings that we can give them as tools to learn to live in a lighter way, to appreciate things that are important, and not give that much value to things that are not important. So not just focus on the material, but focus on our moral development, our friendships, helping each other, nurturing those virtues that we're given in essence as spirits, is the most important thing to be done. And if we're doing that as parents, then rest assured you are fulfilling your mission. And it takes a village to raise a child. I wanted to touch on that as well. So a lot of people think, oh, that child is going through such a hard phase. Look at them. Or, it's easy to sometimes judge when we see things from an external. We might not be necessarily seeing the individual's perspectives, but we as a community, we as a humankind, like we were social beings. We were born to live together, and it takes a village to raise a good child. So we can influence the education of people in our lives the same way that I think everyone that might be listening now, everyone who's here in our chat, we can think about people that were very important to our lives that were not necessarily our parents. So family members like uncles, aunties, grandparents, cousins, we all have a positive influence in each other's lives. We can all be there, and we can also imprint this knowledge. We can imprint the positive emotions and what we try to live, I guess, as humans in each other's lives. So our friends, our local community, the childhood educators that are looking after our children, teachers, people that are instructors in different activities, sports, arts. We can all input something into this child's life. And I remember so many people that contributed to who I am. I can say for sure, I can attest that this is a big thing, and it wasn't just my parents molding who I was as a child. And we can create that sense of responsibility to be a positive influence in the lives of children that are not our children, but they might need support. And, parents need support. That's for sure something that we have learned as well. So there is just one thing here that I wanted to touch on about our human characteristics spiritually that we can try to think about in connection with the moral teachings that we learn in Spiritism that Jesus has given us. And think about this. Our children of today will be the adults of tomorrow. So this is from a book that discusses the importance of teaching spirituality as a whole for children and adolescents. So we can learn to shift our frames of reference. So we can think about abundance, we can develop awareness, we can develop caring, compassion, connectedness with each other, empathy. When we are starting to move toward wisdom, we actually are implementing these moral teachings that we learn in Spiritism into our daily lives. We can prime children for learning. We can prime ourselves for learning when we work on our awareness, when we work in our eagerness to do things, our openness, our presence, our sensitivity. We can enrich our relationships by being authentic, by being consistent, by putting our moral values into practice, by practicing respect, tolerance, valuing our values, I guess, in life and in our relationships. And we can animate children for learning, or even ourselves as adults, through aliveness, through grace, through harmony, through joy, through love, through our presence, through wonder, through dreaming. So when we're teaching kids, we are always having to understand how they're perceiving the world. So by doing that, by implementing the strategies to include these actions and the moral teachings that we learn into like a way that they can relate, will be very important. So we have the end goals, of course, but we have I guess the experiences. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that. I'm happy to share what we're doing here with our Spiritist for Parents groups between 0 to 3. But I know that a lot of Spiritist centers, a lot of people are doing the education between like 3 to 13, and then there's the youth groups. But it's so important. So I just wanted to highlight how important it is to incorporate all these elements of life and learning and respect to children education and youth education as well. So there is actually scientific research associating the knowledge of spirituality or having a religion with positive adolescent outcomes. And we know that sometimes in childhood we might have a few challenges, but when the spirit finishes that process of incorporating into that new life, when they are about 7 years of age, that reincarnatory attachment of the perispirit and the body is finished. So the spirit might then become more aware of those past experiences, those urges to do things that we have done in the past might come to fruition, might come to life. And through adolescence, when we have those challenges in our brain as well, when hormones starts kicking in, and we have all this thing with peer pressure, with trying to pose things to society, and these days with media, with the access to information, the way that we have, these things can become quite overwhelming for a teenager. So this empirical and theoretical literature that's available suggests that there's a correlation between spirituality and well-being in adolescents. They would thrive more. They have been associated with positive physical health as well. So, less depression, less suicidal ideation, risk-taking behaviors are reduced. So, thinking about doing crazy things for attention seeking and etc., whatever the cause is, has been decreased, and an increasing resilience, which is, I think, what rational faith really teaches us as adults, but what we need to consider as very important for our kids to learn as well, because life is going to throw the challenges that life throws at us, but how we see situations, how we deal with it, will be what makes us, I guess, have a positive outcome from it. So resilience is very important, positive for our positive development, and for the way that we see life. So in a way, it's so important to understand this, like all these little seeds that we're planting in the children today will come to fruition later on, will help that child see life in a different lens, and it will help them go through their challenges in life differently as well. So we need to help our children and capacitate them for having spirituality for the life of today and tomorrow, according to Emmanuel from the book Family. That's, one of the things that we need to really focus on as a society, as a community. That's it. I was going to wrap up saying there's a lot of Spiritist literature to support us parents, and maybe a lot of it is not well known, but Elsa here can talk about her books as well. I've read a few of them online, and I've got the like learning how to pray book. I do have it here. Luckily, I bought it, even before I was pregnant, because I knew something was probably about to happen. So I do use that with Ellie. And Kit Evangelio is it has a lot of books. We actually bought some of these to come to Australia. They're available in Brazil, but they also ship overseas. So all the basic Spiritist knowledge about the morals, the virtues that we should develop is all it was published with a very nice structure with activities and things that you can use. So it makes the content easy for parents to be able to teach childhood educators in Spiritist centers as well. And it's of course using a language and using a way to engage with the children that will help them. And there's of course books from Joana de Angelis, and all the literature from Joana de Angelis is very helpful for educators of children or even for us as adults. But there's this awesome book, Adolescence in Life, that I know talks a lot about the challenges that parents might handle when they have adolescents, and understanding the essence of why that might be happening, the previous cause, and how to help them as well go through those challenges and thrive is there. So there's a lot of tools available for us as parents or educators. So I think we should just try to reach out and take a proactive approach in learning, I guess, what we need to learn to do that better. That's all I covered in my slides, but I know that we might have more to talk about. So thank you.
This is great, my dear. Thank you very much for your great explanations and great insights. It's important to teach Spiritism to our young children. And we have here not one but a ton of questions. And we shall start. I will start by the order here. So the first question comes from Nancy Valente from Italy. Can Spiritist centers organize programs for children's Spiritist teachings from age 0 to 3? Isn't this too early?
Yes, so it's not early at all. We are living that experience here now with our Spiritism for Babies and Parents group in Light in the Shire. And, we started it last year. We had to interrupt it because of COVID, but we try to continue online, and we started it again. And we see a lot of demand, actually. There's a lot of parents that were very interested in. There was a recent workshop that Bus has conducted with Cynthia Valenti, and I appreciate these precursors that have been there before us that brought so much information. So the way that children learn in that age, we're priming those little brains for experiences. So by providing experiences that are relevant to those babies, but creating a nurturing environment, creating sensory experiences where the caregivers can learn about the concepts and can incorporate talking about those concepts, showing nature, showing different things, and singing, and incorporating those elements of love, nurturing, the knowledge of God, the knowledge of who is Jesus, how can our lives be better if we are friends. Those things are essential for a later understanding as adults. So it's not too early. It's actually great if we start at that age, because we are priming those little brains for having a positive connection with that group, and also with these concepts, like learning to feel what Spiritism is through those sensory and value inputting experiences that we can create. So Ellie has been thriving. My daughter, I can attest, she loves the classes that we organize, and we're learning as we're going through them. It's not a big challenge, I guess, to start implementing those things in Spiritist centers. All we need is committed educators who are passionate about making this change, this influence, this impact as well into someone's life. And the resources are there. I could see that there was so much more that we could do when I attended the workshop, and I'm going to be happily implementing some of the things that Cynthia discussed. So I think it's reaching out to other educators that are already doing it and learning from them what are the best practices.
Great. Second question is from our friend from UK, Guilherme Diaz. Let me ask you something. Expose very young kids to this type of information cannot be considered as a brainwashing.
I don't think this will be considered as brainwashing, but maybe brain molding, molding their brain to see life challenges and see things from a different light. So as a parent, I think we can think about it like this. We teach our kids about hygiene. We teach them they have to wash their hands before they eat. We teach them that they have to brush their teeth, and we started as early as, before 2. It's so important to introduce the toothbrush in a positive way. It's so important to introduce hand washing. I mean, we had all these COVID babies. If anything, they see hand sanitizer bottles and they reach out for it. I think we can incorporate spiritual learning the same way. So when we're telling them, look, we're just going to close our eyes and we're going to feel what's happening around us. Why are we doing that? We can say, like, look, we have our spiritual mentors here, so we are connecting with them. It's not brainwashing at all. It's priming them to see the reality that we see as adults, but understanding what stage of development they're in. How do we make it a positive thing? And when they're old enough, they're going to learn about the other options that are out there. They will be able to investigate it and see whatever suits them. But I think as a parent, if we have to teach our kids about a number of things that are important, this is as essential as teaching them to brush their teeth. Imagine as adults how much better we would be if we had learned to meditate and clear our minds when we were feeling overwhelmed, or acknowledging an emotion and then maybe trying to find a way to calm it down. So that emotional education is also part of spiritism, and learning the resources that we have available, like a prayer, connection with our good spirits, asking for help, communicating. All these things are so essential, as teaching the actual values, respect, love, not to be so egotistic, how to not be so selfish, learning to share. We can implement those concepts in a very subtle way. And when our children are adults, they'll be able to make their own choices, but we are priming their brains for seeing those things as natural. And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Let's see here. Charles, do you have any questions, any comments?
Yes. The thing is, what could you say to parents who have done their best to educate the children, to put these ideas, to put the seeds of the spiritualist ideas and about God, all these notions, and that then at a given point in time they just make a U-turn, 180 degrees, and start to reject those teachings. And then, of course, the parents are feeling a kind of a frustration out of that. So what could you tell to those parents?
It's a great question, Charles. I think as spirits, we need to understand, like we were saying, talking about the respect of individuality, respecting who our children are. Our children are not our own, as we are not our parents' properties or anything like that. We are all equal in the eyes of God. We're all spirits with individuality, with free will. So ultimately, after we had all the education, all the access to information, everything that our parents prepared for us and we're preparing for our kids, we then follow our paths as individuals. So the divine laws allow for free will, and we, of course, collect what we plant. We have the law of action and reaction there to support us. So as parents, I think we can first, I guess, continue to pray, continue to do what we can for that child that later on as an adult or adolescent, I don't know, is finding it hard to associate those concepts. We will have to, I guess, trust that divine interventions will help that spirit that is living with us as our kids move on and learn. We will, I guess, have a peace of mind that we have done the best that we could. We have to. And I think that goes with other relationships in our lives. We can't change other people. We only have the power to change who we are. But knowing that we have done our best, I guess, will give us peace of mind, and we can continue to do any interventions that we can. And we have to trust that, one day that spirit will associate those little seeds that we've planted. And we know that we are stubborn, maybe it took us how many lives to be able to associate this knowledge that we have access to now. And how little of it can we really put into practice yet? We learn so much, but there's only so much that we really can implement because we are limited as spirits in the realm that we're living. But any seed that's planted in us will become, will become a little tree or a little plant eventually. So I guess, our parents will continue to love us, will continue to try and assist us. And we see this in spiritist literature. There's spirits that are suffering in the lower spheres of life, and who come to help them most of the time? It's the mother from a previous existence or that existence, or it's the father. There's always a spirit that comes and, helps them with all that love. And sometimes that's all it takes, that love, that nurturing for them to go, okay, someone does love me. It's not all bad at all. And it's amazing to see how that cycle continues, and then we continue to learn as spirits, we continue to progress. So I think we then have to trust the divine and continue to do our best.
Thank you.
Great. Let's keep going here. So we do have a question from Fabrizia Diaz. She kind of gave introductory, then she goes to the question. My niece studied in a Catholic school, but she used to go in a spirit center with her parents. In some point, she got really confused about religion, and also she talked to other children about spiritism, spirits, etc. The other children began to find her a bit weird because of that. What do you think about that? And what would be your advice to deal with that situation?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. But I think I can only give my advice based on my knowledge as well. I mean, I grew up in a spiritist culture. Thank God. I see it that way these days. But back in Brazil, when I used to tell people about my religion as a spiritist when I was young, I got a few peers that used to think it was weird, or they used to make comments. I think my personality was like, I didn't really care that much about what other people said. I felt in my heart what was good for myself. But I think that's the blessing of free will again. We can only give our children the information that we have and explain things the best that we can. Make it natural. It's the way we feel it, the way we live. And they will be able to make their choice later on. But I think it's spiritism, the concepts and everything that we learn, it's not so much the importance of it all is not so much to discuss the facts and to justify why things are the way they are, but it's to better ourselves as humans. So provided that the niece in question is being a good child, has learned about the morals, we're all Christians at the end of the day. So the Catholic faith incorporates the Christian values. Spiritism incorporate the Christian values as well. We just go a little bit further into explaining some aspects of life, and actually the fact that we don't see punishment as eternal, and a lot of things that I guess have been debugged from the Catholic faith actually might help us live a little bit lighter. But in essence, if she's a good child, let her choose to believe whatever she wants to believe. And I think later on in life, she might appreciate that those teachings are helpful in the way she might be dealing with conflicts. As a young child, we can expect that she will know everything right now. But I can say, as an adult that grew up with those conflicts in some points of my life, it made a total difference to how I see life. And, I chose to continue to be a spiritist myself. It wasn't my parents who imposed any of the things that we do, like I do today, or that my family does today. It was my choice, but because I realized, this makes more sense for me as an individual. At adolescence, I went through all the different churches with my friends. I wanted to see what is it that they did and what would they talk about. To me, spiritism made more sense because at that crucial time in adolescence, I had all those questions. Why this? Why that? And spiritism explained it. and no other faith could explain it the way I needed to have the answers. But this is an individual thing, and we can have wonderful Catholics doing great in the world and wonderful Protestants doing great in the world. What's important is who they are as individuals at the end of the day. Are they being good individuals? Are they practicing the morals that they've learned? This is the most important thing.
I would like to do a quick comment, from, because I think some confusion starts when people confuse religion with spirituality or spiritism. Spiritism is not a religion. When you teach a child that this wonderful philosophy, this science with moral issues, moral teachings, is wonderful because we can see these teachings in every religion, and spiritism is a philosophy. There is no problem. But when you put religion, spiritism as a religion, a child, what religion is yours? Spiritism. Of course, the Catholics, the Protestant, they don't like it. They don't like it at all. They think that we are dealing with devils, etc. But we should talk clearly as Kardec teach us. Spiritism is not a religion. Spiritism is for everyone, not for only for Christians, not for Catholics, not for only for Brazilians. Am I right, Charles?
Yes, exactly. I mean, and to seek the points of convergence. So between Catholic and Spiritism, of course, the moral laws, love your neighbor, love God, and so on. So this is universal. I think even in other religious movements, and so I think this even the children, they have the mean to understand a little bit about the difference of what is a religion, a blind faith, and what is how to say this reasoned faith. That we can make questions and get answers, and then to find the convergence between both. Knowing that Frank told it very very wise. The essential is what we do out of it on ourselves.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
And thank you, Elsa.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do have Marco Davis. He contributed a lot here with a lot of comments. Marco, and Marco is saying here he supports young children starts with spiritism. He is glad to know we have books now supporting. Like, I don't know, it's better. We are more well prepared today than we were like 5 years, 10 years ago in terms of books, in terms of interactive connection with the children. Because today, even though it's different, like we need in my time everything was book. Now it's iPad, tablets, games. Need to be a quick information. So it's important. So thank you, Marco, for your inputs here and your collaboration. Nancy also has another question, and she says, my daughter believes in spiritism if they don't want to study it for now, but I talk to them about, and this knowledge is very natural to them. So I can see from myself, from, for example, in the spirit center I used to go, and my friends who were with me in the in the youth spiritist teachings, most of them left because they saw their fathers and their parents preaching something in a spirit center, and at home is completely different. So this lack of sense put them away from the spirit center. Do you have any comment, any way to convince those guys, hey, please come back, because we have the free will, it's
Yeah, look, as humans, it's part of our nature. We judge, and children are pretty smart. We observe, and I mean, I saw myself doing that at one point. I was seeing how different my parents were in the spiritist center and some of their actions at home. But we are all spirits. I think these days, when I'm because we're adults now, we're more mature. We can have empathy to understand that, the same way that my mom was not perfect. She was always doing the best that she could. My dad was not perfect, but he was doing the best that he could. I think God knows how they would be if they weren't spiritists, if they didn't have access to that knowledge. I think of it as like what a blessing it was that they got to get this knowledge and they got to give me the best that they could as parents in their experiences, and they've given me the best gift in introducing me to spiritism. So I can't complain at all. Today, because I'm more mature, I think I see myself as that judgy teenager, and I think, oh my God, how silly was I? Because a lot of people will find excuses to leave the spiritist centers. I
yeah,
think that's the reality, because it's a lot harder and confronting to work on ourselves than it is to judge others. So I think whoever is not pursuing that work to, like, give to others what has been given to us, or implement in our lives, so we're learning, they might be the ones missing out. I mean, I certainly know how much I needed, how much teaching what I know and learning from so many. I think we go there to learn more than to teach, if we are open to learning. So I think we need to be very humble in thinking that we're always learning. And if we can be there, we learn so much from our children as well. I mean, I can say this mission as a parent is already making me such a better human being, because I want to be the best example for Ellie. So I'm more vigilant with who I am, because I want to make sure that she can observe my examples and she can see that I make an effort. So I think, sorry, I even get emotional. I think it's important that I think we understand that we are all doing our best. And if we have our hearts in what we're doing and we're doing our best, we will be better at the end of this life. And that's the most important thing. And who we are for our children will make a remarkable change in their lives. And I hope that we can all get to the other side of life and we can see how good of a change we were able to create for our kids, even with our imperfections. We did the best we could.
great, thank you. So kind of you, what answer is, unfortunately, we don't have a manual how to be a parent, and the kids don't come with a manual, how to raise me,
I
but
know.
anyway, I wish we
Yeah.
have this, I wish we have this. So, Fran, we have a lot of thank you, wonderful comments here, a lot of congratulations for you for the amazing talking, and it's so glad to see all these people praising what you just did, this present you gave to us in this moment. So thank you very much, especially for you, because you were speaking from the future. It's always good to listen to people are in the future. So you are already in the 14th of April. We are in the 13th of April. So
Exactly.
yeah. So
We have here with us Sandra Borba watching and said
yeah,
something. Yes, Sandra Borba. She will be with us now in May. She will give a seminar for us. I think in May or June, but I will send
yeah,
to you.
great.
I send
Good
to
to
all.
have you, Sandra, with us.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. I
Okay.
think, yeah, we're just starting this journey here in our little center. We're very humble and we are so appreciative of all the information that others, our precursors in early childhood education, have been able to give us. So I think, yeah, we're all starting, but I appreciate the collaboration. Booz, all of you guys in Europe have been organizing amazing workshops that we can enjoy, appreciate here, and pass on to parents here. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to organize more things together. And it's this big network of help that we have in Spiritism that is what helps us. We're not
Yeah.
isolated. We're all connected. We have to remember that, regardless of where we are, regardless of language. It's that love and this fraternity, this union in helping each other in our missions that's going to take us to where we need to get to. So
Great.
thank you again.
Thank you, my dear. Let me put it here. Robert Brown says, working on ourselves shows other we have understanding. Always Robbie coming with his great comments. Very sharp, very straightforward. And let's go to our announcements here before we wrap up. So next week, the topic is, why does God allow suffering? And we will have Rodrigo Ortega with us. So it's good to have him with us. It's amazing. So also we have SSL Talks. Guilherme Diaz will give a speech on the 21st of April at 6:30 p.m. And the topic is Spiritist Philosophy and Mediumship. This is going to happen in Quakers Meeting House. So more details, you go to www.buzz.org.uk. Also, the seminar from Vanessa will...
Course is a curso. It's a course. 2 months.
It's a course. Yes, a course. Introduction to Spiritism. It's a series of seven webinars. It's part of the roadmap program, and it will start on the 27th of April. So every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. UK time. Don't miss our recurring programs. We're having a coffee break with Kardec and our dear friend Munir. Medium's book study every Saturday. Also, Time to Talk every other Tuesday, along with a study of the book No Solar. Is a different approach, different view. So it's invite everyone to join our friends who give their time to prepare something in English and spread the word. So thank you all for your efforts and time and availability. Also, we are still running the first Spiritist month. We are having every day different talks, different countries, different messages, but everyone with one idea, which is spreading the Spiritism all over the world. And that's it. So Fran, thank you once again. I want to wish you a blessed day. We are going now to bed, but you go to work.
Yes.
So have a blessed day. Say hi to Ellie. We wish she grow up having all these teachings, all this care you have with her, and she could replicate to her children and everybody in Australia. Thank you very much, my dear.
Thank you. That's my wish and hope. Thank you so much again for the invitation, and it was lovely to be here with you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Elzinha, thank you, my dear. Charles, bonne nuit, my friend.
Au revoir, bonne soirée. Oui.
Boa
Et bonne
sorte.
journée pour France.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
Bye-bye,
everyone.
teacher.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Franca.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
Elsa.
Ellie.
Much
Beijo,
love to
linda.
you all.